Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, I will explain how to create a drop-down list that is dependent on the answer to another drop-down list. We will do this without using any complex formulas. On this sheet, you see the 7 continents, all European countries, all regions part of North America, and all states of the US. Next to this, we ask a respondent to indicate his residency. First, he should indicate on which continent, then the country or region he lives in, and finally the state if applicable. The idea is to name the different ranges and refer to the ranges in the data validation menu with their corresponding names. The ranges names can be managed by navigating to the formulas and selecting Name Manager in the Define Names section. For the moment, there are no named ranges. To add these, there are a few options. The first option is to click on New in this menu and define the name of the first range. You choose a name with a continent for the first range, so we type this in the name box. Next, you select the corresponding range in the Refers To box. Here we select B3 until B9. You click on OK and you see the named range appear in the menu. We have the name continent referring to the cells B3 till B9, which have the values Europe, North America, and so on. Now we show you a second and faster method to define a named range. We close this menu and select the next range under Europe that we want to give a name. To name the range, it suffices to type the name you want to give the range in the name box on the screen. We navigate to the box and type Europe. To check if the range has indeed received a name, we go back to the Name Manager. The name Europe has been added. Before showing the final option to implement the named ranges, we first try to name the third column North America. An error message pops up on the screen indicating that we should enter a valid reference or a valid name for that selection. The problem here is that we try to use a space in our name, which is not allowed by Excel. To circumvent this issue, we insert an underscore instead of a space in the name. We again open the Name Manager menu and see the newly added named range North America. We delete the named ranges now by selecting them and clicking on Delete. Next, we show how we can implement all names at once when the data is set up as it is here. We select All Data, navigate to Formulas, and the Define Names section again. Here we go for Create From Selection Now. We click on it and see a menu opening. You can create names from values in the selected data now. We want the names to be the words in the top row, so this is the box we keep checked, and we uncheck all other ones. We click on OK and go to the Name Manager to check if the ranges have indeed the names that we want. As you can see, this is the case. Note that the spaces are automatically replaced by underscores. One drawback of this method is that all ranges have the length of the longest range. So for the continent range, for example, we have the 7 entries and then 43 empty values. When you implement the drop-down lists, you will see these empty values as well. To avoid this, you stick to one of the other options. We quickly change this in our workbook and move on to the implementation of the drop-down menus. Before we can implement the drop-down menus, we first show how exactly the indirect function works, as we will use this in the data validation menu. We click on a cell in the sheet and type equals indirect of continent, for example. We enter and see the entire range appear. Now we select cell I2 and navigate to Data and click on Data Validation in the Data Tools section. The Data Validation menu opens, where we can insert our drop-down list. We set any value to list and type equals continent in the source box. We click on OK and go to cell I3. The drop-down list that should appear here depends on the selection made in cell I2, so we go back to Data Validation, select List, and type equals indirect of I2. Note that there could be a mismatch between the items in the continent list and the name of our ranges because we have inserted an underscore instead of spaces. To take this into account, we use the substitute function to replace the underscore by a space. We do the same for cell I4, but we insert cell I3 in the indirect function. We enter and see the drop-down menus on the screen. Let's try if everything works now. We go to continent and select North America, for example. Then we will go down and select United States. Next we go one more down and select Alabama, for example. This all worked fine. Let's select another region now, for example Aruba. No elements should appear when we click on the drop-down list for state. We click and indeed no options appear. This concludes our tutorial on Excel dependent drop-down list. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Be sure to subscribe if you want to watch more Excel or software related tutorials. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.